On March 2nd, the next Halo novel, Point of Light, will release, continuing the adventures of Ryan Forge and Spark as they traverse the galaxy. Kelly Gay's stories following the adventures of Ryan Forge have been an amazing ride through the lesser-seen aspects of the Halo universe, featuring plenty of familiar elements presented from a new perspective. And with the next book in this saga on the horizon, I thought it would be fun to recap the events that have led us to Point of Light. Naturally, spoilers ahead for certain Halo books. We'll be covering plot points from Halo Primordium and Halo Hunters in the Dark to a lesser extent, along with the full stories of Halo's Smoke and Shadow and Renegades. You should know most of this if you're going into Point of Light, but hey, it never hurts to be considerate. With that, let's dive in. Our story begins in March of 2553, when Oni deploys an automated remote probe delivery system to the Ark. Arriving in November, the drones are deployed, detecting a signal from among the debris before going offline. In December of the same year, the UNSC Rubicon is dispatched from Luna, making the 8-month trip to the Ark using standard slipspace travel rather than a portal like in Halo 3, since the one portal that the UNSC knows of is no longer active. Arriving on August 10, 2554, the Rubicon deploys remote contact teams to the Ark's surface. All but one team are wiped out, the remaining team, taking heavy casualties from the Ark's defenses and fauna, recovering the source of the signal, a heavily damaged armature, the corpse of 343 Guilty Spark. The Rubicon team begins capturing data streams from Guilty Spark as it recalls memories from its time as the ancient human Chakas and its adventures across the surface of Installation 07 over 100,000 years ago. At the end of its story, Guilty Spark takes control of the Rubicon, disabling its crew and beginning a journey to find the librarian, whom Guilty Spark believes is still alive. Using one of the Ark's remaining subspace portals, Guilty Spark returns the Rubicon to the Milky Way, intent on bringing the ship to Shield World 0459, the Etran Harborage, to acquire an upgrade seed. The upgrade seed, a piece of Forerunner technology, would upgrade the comparatively primitive human vessel into one capable of Guilty Spark's intended journey. However, the ship crashes on a planet called Geranos A, and the entire crew is killed. Spark, having managed to transfer his consciousness into an Armiger body, buries the crew and sets up a distress beacon. At some point in 2555, a record of Spark's story as related to the UNSC Rubicon is recovered. It, and an artifact known as the Born Stellar Relation, a testimonial detailing the key players of the Forerunner Flood War 100,000 years ago, recovered from Shield World 0006, also known as the Sarcophagus, or to humanity, Trevelyan, become the foundations of Project Bookworm. The project is headed by Captain Annabelle Richards of the Office of Naval Intelligence, who had previously deployed to the Ark in 2555 as part of a joint UNSC Swords of Sanghelios operation to stop the firing of the Halo array by the Ark's monitor at that time. Bookworm's purpose is to capture 343 Guilty Spark and use him to gain access to the domain. But all of this is backstory, the true adventure beginning in January of 2557, where we find Ryan Forge, daughter of Sergeant John Forge, on the rebel planet of Venezia. A salvager by trade, Ryan Forge captains the Ace of Spades, a Mariner-class transport, and the lead of a crew of 4, Cade McDonough, Kip Silas, and the siblings Nico and Lessa. Together they make a decent living in the post-Covenant War galaxy. On this day though, following a particularly successful payday, Ryan catches word of a downed UNSC ship that was shot down during the war, crashing on the colony of Aero, a huge potential payday. Though tired from their recent job, Ryan's crew is on board and they depart for the planet. There they find the hull of the UNSC Roman Blue, a Halcyon-class light cruiser once captained by Lord Terrence Hood. During the First Battle of Arcadia in 2531, the Roman Blue had been tasked with recovering a comm buoy left by the Spirit of Fire, which would have informed the UNSC of where Captain Cutter was taking the ship. Hood, young and arrogant, instead engaged local Covenant forces and lost the buoy. Ever since the Spirit went missing, Ryan had been trying to find clues as to the fate of her father, and inside the Roman Blue, she finds a huge one. A log of the day the Spirit of Fire went missing. With this, she would potentially be able to find the buoy and then her father. The mission is cut short when the Roman Blue is suddenly fired upon though, forcing the crew to retreat. Afterwards, Ryan reveals what she found and her intentions to chase down this clue. She doesn't expect anyone to join her, but they all volunteer. With the help of a connection on Venezia, a Tavawan Kigyar named Norfell, Ryan tracks down the crash site of the Covenant destroyer Radiant Perception, a ship present at the Battle of Arcadia which may have recovered the comm buoy dropped by the Spirit of Fire. As luck would have it, the ship was shot down during the battle, crashing on the nearby world of Laconia. Upon arriving at the crash site, Ryan and her crew find a group of Sangheili, ones led by Gek Lar from Spartan Ops, are already there. Luckily, they're searching different parts of the ship, allowing Ryan to look for the buoy. As they're leaving, they see Gek Lar himself taking potshots at Ram Chalva, the captain of a rival salvaging crew. They swoop in to save Ram, then head out system. Nico is able to hack the comm buoy and discover the Spirit of Fire's destination. 4 days later, they arrive in the Corinth Prior system, former location of Shield World 0459, aka the Etrin Harborage, now just a debris field thanks to the actions of the Spirit of Fire, John Forge in particular. They detect a particular piece of debris protected by a shield and holding in an atmosphere. Ryan and Cade go to investigate, Nico, Lessa, Kip, and Ram remaining on the Ace of Spades. Ryan and Cade aren't able to do much exploring before they're hailed by the Ace, revealing that Ram had been chipped and Gek had followed them to the system. Ryan and Cade are then surprised by Gek and a few Sangheili. During the battle, Gek suffers a graze to the eye, and Cade sacrifices himself to kill Gek's men. Gek is ultimately forced to retreat when Ryan threatens to detonate a grenade, an act which would have killed them both and destroyed a Luminary, a device for tracking Forerunner relics that Gek had brought with him. Ryan is later recovered by the Ace, and before they can leave, they're contacted by an AI, a fragment of the Ancilla that once monitored the Etrin Harborage. This AI, later called Little Bit, being Ryan's only chance at discovering the fate of the Spirit of Fire and her father, is taken with her as they return to Venezia. Once arrived, Ram is brought to a proper hospital, and it seems like the crew can finally rest for a moment, while the Ace of Spades is brought into port, its slipspace drive having been overloaded thanks to modifications made by Little Bit. However, sometime in the following months, Little Bit discovers that Kip Silas is in fact an Oni agent named Silas Kipley, who had been planted on Ryan's crew. His cover blown, Silas flees and requests an extraction from his Oni handler. Ryan, in the meantime, manages to make it to another world, Kamoya, where she hides out for more than 2 months, getting the Ace repaired and preparing both to find the Spirit of Fire and get revenge on Gek for the death of Cade. As luck would have it, right as the Ace's repairs were finished, Ryan receives word from Norfell that Gek is on Kamoya for an auction. This is an opportunity she can't miss, so Ryan and crew prepare to make their move. The day of the auction, Ryan is present, pretending to make a serious bid for the item on sale that day, a harvester. She does this to keep Gek at the auction as long as possible, while her crew steals Gek's Luminary from his ship. The plan is mostly a success, Ryan even managing to steal some data from a datapad on Gek thanks to a special glove created by Nico, but she and the young genius soon find themselves captured and bound by none other than Oni. Oni interrogates her and Nico for a few hours, ultimately resulting in the spooks taking Little Bit, all the data Ryan had on the Spirit of Fire and her father, and even literally lifting Ryan's warehouse straight off Venezia, before letting the crew go and the ship leave. Though all seems lost, Ryan remembers the glove she used to scan Gek's datapad, and had also used on a datapad on the Oni vessel during their interrogation. With this data, 9 days later, the ship is restocked and the crew has an objective. From the scans of the datapads, Nico was able to pull up information about a find on a planet called Gyaranos A. Whatever's there, Ryan figures they can use it to barter their stuff back from Oni. Of course, we know exactly what awaits the Ace crew upon their arrival. The digitized mind of Chakas, once the monitor known as 343 Guilty Spark, now a free AI inhabiting the body of a soldier armiger. When found by the crew, Spark initially plays possum, allowing himself to be brought on board the Ace of Spades. When he eventually reveals himself, there's understandable tension, but the crew and Spark eventually talk. The conversation is cut short, however, when the Oni Prowler from before appears and Spark forces the Ace to make a slipspace jump towards his original destination, the Etrin Harborage. During the trip, the crew, Nico in particular, start probing Spark with questions about his origins, revealing aspects of his time as a human, his conversion to an AI, and his time as a monitor, revelations that are understandably a lot to take in. When they arrive at the harborage, we already know what state it's in. The crew hadn't realized that the debris field they'd visited months before was the remains of the same installation Spark had been seeking. They don't stay for long though, Gek having set up a presence in the debris field, using his harvester to complete some unknown goal. Something that, as Rom learned when looking through the data stolen from Gek's datapad, would aid in an attack on Earth later that year. Once out of danger, Spark makes a proposal. He needs to get to Earth to meet with the librarian, believing she's still alive there somehow, but is unsure of how to do so given Oni's presence. Ryan and crew, of course, want their stuff back. So, at their new destination, Spark can upgrade the Ace of Spades with Forerunner tech using what's called an upgrade seed. This would allow them to sneak their way onto Earth where Spark can do what he needs to do, and Ryan would have the ability to get her things back. He even offers to help find the Spirit of Fire, Ryan ultimately agreeing. Brought to a world called Trinial, a world that had killed its entire population just despite the flood, the Ace crew are vital in reactivating some of the Forerunner machinery present to craft the upgrade seed. Once it's done, they head to a world known as Myers Moon to rest, restock, and determine their next move. After a few days, Ryan finally decides to take up Spark on his deal and applies the upgrade seed to the Ace of Spades. While the seed is working, Spark tries to access the juridical network, specifically looking for testimony from a catalog unit from before the activation of the Halo array, but is denied by a surviving catalog unit. For those who don't recall, catalog were a unique type of Forerunner part of the juridical rate that collected testimony for investigation and trial. Jumping forward to August of 2557, the month after the events of Halo 4, we find Ryan putting her plan into motion. She contacts Norfell asking for help with their plan, which Nor ultimately agrees to after being told she might get a bounty from Gek for revealing Ryan's location. At the same time, she prepares to meet with Oni. Days later, Ryan meets with Agent Han of the Office of Naval Intelligence, handing over her salvage from Jeranos A, including a data core that she leads Han to believe belongs to Guilty Spark. In exchange, Ryan and her crew get their personal belongings back. Just as the exchange is complete, however, 6 elites sent by Gek, along with some bounty hunters, break up the party. Oni fights off the bounty hunters while trying to arrest Ryan, but with Spark's help, she and the Ace crew manage to slip away. A month later, an Agent Han has handed over the data core to Director Richards on Earth, where it's discovered the core was a fake sent to shut down the facility. This gives Spark and the crew the chance to sneak onto Earth and make their way into a Forerunner complex beneath Mount Kilimanjaro. Inside, Ryan activates terminals at Spark's request, bringing the facility to life. As they cross a light bridge leading into the heart of the facility, Spark briefly considers deactivating it, killing the Ace crew, but the remnants of his human emotions prevent him from doing so. Instead, he finally reveals to Ryan the fate of her father, the sacrifice John Forge made to save humanity, causing Ryan to break down. This doesn't last long, however, with Oni accompanied by Spartan 4s showing up. Spark deactivates the light bridge to cut Oni off a bit, but then leaves the Ace crew to fight Oni while he heads inside. Within the facility, Spark is confronted by a remnant of the Librarian, an AI like we see in Halo 4 on Requiem. The two talk, Spark asking if there's any way she can coax out memories of his old friends from the geisha of modern humans, or send his mind into the domain to find their memories there, but the Librarian AI dissuades him of these notions. She points out that he has new friends he can care for in the Ace of Spades crew, if what he's looking for is friendship. Then, preparing to leave for the Absolute Record, she offers to take Spark with her, or noting he can stay with his new friends. He chooses the latter and is given an unknown key. Emerging from the facility, Spark joins the fight against Oni, creating a cave-in to cut off the Oni advance, and allowing the Ace crew to escape via translocation panel. They hide out on Earth for a few days, during which Spark reveals he had discovered a data drop left by the Spirit of Fire at some point, likely when they were at the Etran Harborage, which contained a final message from John Forge to his daughter, to Ryan, and hands that over to her. Though heartbroken at the discovery of her father's death, she's happy to finally know the truth. A few days later, the Ace crew and Spark hold a farewell ceremony to those lost, Spark singing a farewell to those lost by the crew and his own friends. And as our story comes to a close, Ryan resolves to find the Spirit of Fire, a task to which Spark and her crew are ready to embark on. And that brings us to the doorstep of Halo Point of Light. The book will open in August of 2558, almost a year after Halo Renegades, and will set Ryan on a journey that could thrust her into the heart of modern Halo conflict. August is just 2 months before the Guardian Awakening and the Rise of the Created in Halo 5. What might Ryan get up to in this time, and will she finally discover the fate of the Spirit of Fire? And of course, what of Bastion, the mysterious Forerunner world that is first mentioned in Halo 5 and gets re-mentioned in Renegades? There's a lot of potential ground to cover in Point of Light, and I cannot wait to read about it. But how about you all? Are you as excited as me for Point of Light?
Not scientifically possible!
Let me know in the comments below. That's all for today though. This has been Halo Canon. I'll see y'all next time. Hey y'all, thanks again for checking out this video. I really hope you liked it. If you did, consider subscribing and maybe even hitting that notification bell. I deeply appreciate it and it helps out the channel. But regardless of your decision, thanks for watching, keep on being awesome, and stay tuned, Canonites.